So the summer trial is part of a series of trials that WIN is planning an extension of its current experience with WINther. These are all focused around lung cancer, and they're broken up based upon the different stages of that patients come in. So the summer trial is specifically meant for the adjuvant setting, in which patients have had potentially curative resections, and then post-operatively, standardly, they would get chemotherapy alone. And in our case, we're planning that in the summer trial they would get additional therapy to that. So the background that goes into that is that even though these patients are considered early to intermediate stage, roughly 40 to 50% of the patients, depending upon their actual stage, will still recur with either a local regional disease or metastatic disease that will eventually claim their life. So we're hoping to bend the survival curve in that particular group of patients by changing the therapy that they receive in the adjuvant setting. So it's different than many of these because many of these are in metastatic patients. So for instance, the WINther trial that is currently being conducted by WIN, as well as the battle trial that was conducted, the first battle trial that was conducted at MD Anderson, and the current iterations of that we have at MD Anderson. Those are all in metastatic patients. This is hoping to move forward those particular concepts into the adjuvant setting for patients who have earlier stage disease and have received potentially curative operations. In this case, the design is not completely finalized. In fact, in our planning meetings yesterday, this was a big topic of discussion. But the overall idea here is that we are trying to position this versus some of the other trials that are ongoing, such as ALCHEMIST in the United States. And currently the design has three arms. One is an observation arm, so it would be our current standard of care, so that we have a good arm for comparison. One of the arms is with immunotherapy only after patients receive standard adjuvant chemotherapy. That will be similar to the NCIC BR31 trial that's currently ongoing in Canada and other countries, and will also be similar to the NCI ALCHEMIST with a nivolumab treatment that is planned but not yet accruing. However, the real distinction here is in our third arm. The third arm, patients will be receiving immunotherapy targeted agent combinations. And that's really a unique setting in which there are no other groups that we're currently aware of that are applying that in the adjuvant context. So ALCHEMIST is a big National Cancer Institute supported effort in the United States that is screening between 6,000 and 8,000 lung cancer patients. This is specifically for the adenocarcinoma histology. And that large number of patients is being screened with deep molecular profiling so that we have significant amounts of science. But in addition to that, the current targeted therapies that are being applied, such as anti-EGFR therapy for patients that have an EGFR mutation, or ALK translocations, those are relatively small percentages of that overall screening population. There is a proposal, and the trial is currently being written for an immunotherapy arm with the approved drug nivolumab for patients who do not have a molecular match either with an EGFR mutation or an ALK translocation. So the SIMS algorithm was developed by the WIN Consortium, and this is an algorithm that tries to take into account additional information beyond the DNA mutations. So standardly, in today's world, from a clinical standpoint, when we see lung cancer patients or patients with other diseases as well, we are specifically looking for particular DNA mutations that we believe to be driver mutations. The SIMS algorithm tries to build upon that by not only only taking into account the DNA mutations, but also transcriptomic profiling in terms of the mRNA levels, copy number variation changes, and we're planning additional layers to be added onto that, such as proteomic-based analyses, with the idea that this gives us overall a much better readout of what sorts of dependencies particular tumors have beyond just the DNA mutations. It's not up and running yet. We're still in the planning stages of this. As part of the WIN Consortium, the WINther trial is up and running and accruing quite well, and has allowed us to develop the framework that we need for analyzing the tumors and running these sorts of innovative trials across continents and across 17 different countries to date. So for the next iterations of the trials, the boost trial, the summer trial, and the spring trial, those are all in the planning stages. Several of them are in the later stages of planning, with the hopes that in the next 6 to 12 months we will have those up and starting to accrue patients. Well, overall, our big goals are that we really want to change our ability to provide good targeted agents in terms of a precision medicine-based model for many more patients. We hope that in terms of outcome, what that provides, specifically in the context of summer, is that we are increasing the cure rates and therefore overall survival. In terms of more short-term endpoints, we are specifically targeting the 12-month or 1-year disease-free recurrence rate, with the idea that this will impact longer-term survival in this particular group of patients. When good, large international groups like WIN get together, that will allow us to put together innovative strategies such as this, so that we can reach out to more patients. And part of the reason that WIN has been successful to date, and I think eventually will be even more successful and impactful, is that it's not just the academic community. It's a combination of academics working with governmental agencies and the regulatory agencies, and with a strong collaborative component from industry, so that we're really designing the very best patients across many continents to reach out and change how we treat cancer.